Alright, I'm in the mood for some might and magic, so which one is it gonna be? Heroes of Might and Magic? Legends of Might and Magic? Disgruntled office workers suffering from unpaid overtime? Of Might and Magic? Nope, none of that, because today we'll be playing one of the most obscure titles in the series, Warriors of Might and Magic. Published in 2000 for PlayStation 1 and Game Boy Color, with a PlayStation 2 version hitting the shelves in 2001, developed and released by none other than the motherfucking 3DO company itself. You know, the ones behind the most advanced and successful console ever. Yeah, you can already guess how stinky this game's gonna be. However, a lot of work went into this, with each version being completely unique and a PC port planned that unfortunately never saw the light of day. There was a sequel though, called Shifters. Yep, that's really the name they chose. The jokes write themselves, folks. But what about Warriors of Might and Magic? Is it truly as terrible as your typical 3DO game? Well, let's steel ourselves and delve deep into a fantasy world of swords, spells, lascious hairstyles, and big titty goth GFs.
3DO, a hero, betrayed.
Mask him.
Befriended. Banished. Warriors of Might and Magic on PlayStation 2 Computer Entertainment System. Rated T for teen.
Alaron.
Be there.
No, what you just witnessed was not a D&D porn parody, but the game's commercial. Well, it could be both, who am I to judge? Anyway, the story has some interesting elements, but ultimately becomes generic fantasy slop. So we play as Alaron, a former captain of the guard who has been found guilty of necromancy. For his punishment, a weird purple guy places an even weirder hentai mask on his face and throws him into the pit of the accused, while a thick AF evil lady watches in the distance. Now Alaron, sporting the strangest half-chub of his life, must escape and clear his name. Along his travels, he finds a talking crow and a monk named Salo, who actually has the busty goth lady as his apprentice. Her name is Daria, and she's evil, obviously, but that doesn't matter yet, since Alaron has to pass a whole bunch of trials and retrieve every MacGuffin under the sun so that Salo can assist him in removing his mask. Several hours of tedious combat, platforming and puzzle solving later, we finally have what we need, but then Daria appears out of nowhere and traps us with probably the lamest dragon boss fight I've ever experienced in my life. She clearly wants to kill us, so why doesn't she just do it and get it over with? Well, you see, it's the prophecy. Yeah, of course there is a prophecy, and of course we are the chosen ones. Alaron and Daria are the children of the ancient god Einar, but only one of them is destined to achieve immortality. However, they are not allowed to hurt each other directly, using might or magic. Get it? Yeah, well, apparently Daria sucks at being evil, so instead she just resurrects an evil spirit to rule the world, or destroy it. I don't even know anymore. Some of the cutscenes didn't even play for me. Alaron defeats the evil spirit called Daglafor, and with the mask finally off his face, he lives happily ever after as an immortal warrior. Until the sequel, of course. There is a lot more lore you can read in books scattered throughout the game, but it's nothing too interesting. Just a bunch of random fantasy names doing standard fantasy stuff. It's a shame that the story falls into the cliché of saving the world from an evil monster, because the most intriguing aspect of the plot, in my opinion, was the arc of redeeming ourselves from being wrongfully accused. As for the characters, Daria is the stereotypically evil girl boss who's way too impatient and incompetent to pose an actual threat. Also, good lord, her design is awful. There is a difference between being tastefully sexy and being over-sexualized, but this is something even worse. This is just a misshapen abomination created by messing around with Skyrim's body sliders. Holy shit, man! Alaron is cool though. I like how unapologetically tired of all this shit he is. He just wants to get the mask off of him and get out of there. No heroics, no bravado, nothing. Pretty refreshing, even though the dialogue is kinda anachronistic for the period the game is portraying. Anyway, it's a simple dark fantasy plot with shallow characters. You have to kill the big bad and save the world. Nothing else to it, unfortunately. Before I even begin ranting about the game's presentation, I have to talk about how Aleron looks at the start of the adventure. He's a damn gimp, there is no better word for it. He looks like a roided up slave for a medieval mistress, a full-on BDSM model. Thankfully, once you find some proper armor, you start looking like a proper warrior of might and magic, instead of an enjoyer of the classic spell of testicular torsion. Oh yeah, this game has graphics too, I guess. Holy fuck, they are ugly! I get it, it was an early PlayStation 2 game, so it wouldn't look amazing by any stretch of imagination, but come on, look at these textures! They are muddy, basic, uninspired, and they stretch and repeat through each level's geometry like an early test build, not a proper game. And it's such a shame too, because the environments are varied and the art direction is fine. You'll visit villages, caves, temples, and monasteries, among other places, and they all look very distinct and have that classic alternative fantasy flair to them. Each level is also absolutely massive, especially for the standards of the time. Granted, the game's fog resembles that of Silent Hill and you won't be able to really appreciate how big the levels are, but still it's all super impressive for such an early console title. The enemies don't look half bad either. Yes, they barely have enough polygons to qualify as PS2 material, but they do a good job representing the fantasy creatures of old, with some sparks of originality here and there. But, like I said, the graphics are low quality, the effects are basic, and the animations are slow and clunky, dragging the whole experience down. It doesn't get any better in the audio department either. I don't have any issues with the music, in fact, it's surprisingly well done. It serves as a fitting companion to your adventures, with ambient tracks signaling the imminent danger lurking around every corner, and more heroic, uplifting compositions energizing you for intense hack-and-slash action. But the sound effects, oh my god, the sound effects! They are amongst the most terrible I've ever had the misfortune to hear. No, this is not a joke or an exaggeration. The gargoyles sound like nails on a chalkboard, the robots like detuned guitars, and the beholders like getting stabbed in Yumeniki. Don't believe me? Just listen to this shit. I could go on, but I think I've made my point. They are badly compressed, incredibly annoying, and very unfitting. Overall, the game has some cool aesthetic choices, but the presentation is nasty, and the sound effects are simply painful, making the whole thing just an unpleasant slog. Warriors of Might and Magic is an action RPG, which back then was a big deal, since the genre was still fairly new. Even so, there are some mechanics and features here that are still ahead of their time. The level design, for instance, is one of the best aspects of the game. Each level is huge, but easily traversable without a map, thanks to the diversity of the environments. Besides that, there are tons of secrets and hidden areas full of loot to upgrade yourself. Exploration is rewarded handsomely by fighting overpowered spells, weapons, potions, and armor, and I had a lot of fun going through each area, encountering unique set pieces and adventures. At times, it was almost like playing Dark Messiah actually. Well, Dark Messiah after surviving one of the worst hangovers of my life. But exploring around isn't all you'll be doing, because this game is 80% combat, 10% leveling up your stats, and another 50% clunky inventory management. Wait, that's not right. Oh, whatever. Combat-wise, we can do horizontal and vertical slashes, with each weapon having its unique set of combos and special moves. There's also a crazy number of spells you can find and use to boost your stats, weaken your enemies, or outright destroy them. Using the elements to your advantage plays a huge role throughout the adventure, because each enemy is weak to a certain element, and their attacks are infused with elemental properties you can nullify with spells, potions, or specific equipment. You're always encouraged to mix and match your gear and always be prepared for any dangerous situation, which provides a very unique tactical element to the combat. Sounds good so far, right? Well, there is a gigantic caveat to all this. The game runs like shit and controls like ass. The frame rate is pretty much in the single digits most of the time, and the input delay is insane. Sometimes Aileron outright refuses to perform the action you press the button for, and his animations are frustratingly slow. It becomes especially egregious when you lock onto an enemy. Strafing around takes ages, you cannot dodge, and after every combo it takes a full second to be able to move around or even raise your shield. You're basically a geriatric with a toy sword trying desperately to survive. And it's extremely annoying because every single enemy is 10 times more athletic and speedier than you, with massive health bars that take ages to empty even with max stats and the best gear. Hell, even the trees and the ogres can backflip, and I can barely perform a single jump for fuck's sake. The only way to survive is to block, wait patiently for the enemy to finish their attack, and then strike them back like it's a turn-based RPG or something. It's tedious, it takes ages, it sucks, but at least it makes one-on-ones doable. However, the game constantly throws multiple enemies at you, so you just have to manipulate their city AI and isolate them, or else you get stun-locked and die within seconds. And if that's not unfair enough, the collisions are a war crime. Even with the longest weapons, you have to hug your enemy to be able to hit them, while they can reach you from much further even unarmed. Not to mention they constantly back away to make it even harder for you to hit them. Some enemies barely have collision boxes to begin with. Most of your attacks will just phase through them, while they'll one-shot you easily. Not to mention they break your guard and push you around non-stop just to waste your time, like middle school bullies. It's like the game hates your guts and wants to troll you. Most enemy encounters are grindy and hard as hell, but the boss fights are stupidly easy, with classics such as a dragon that lands for about a second before flying away, and a random fish monster that I thought was a generic enemy. But no, that was Daglafor, the evil spirit of legend. Give me a break, man, nothing works in this game. The combat is slow, clunky, and annoying. The platforming is broken and unresponsive, and it's not fun moving, attacking, or doing anything. Yes, the exploration is cool, the role-playing elements are intricate, and the level design is very well thought out, but when the simple act of pressing a button is miserable, it negates all the positive aspects. There are certainly some very good ideas here, no doubt about it, but the execution? Yeah, this game desperately needed more time in the oven, because with a proper remaster, it'd be a real hidden gem for the system. Alas, poor Aileron. Man, what an adventure that was! I saved the world from a fucking fish guy. Well, I'm glad I finished this game, because I never want to play it again. It sucks because I enjoyed exploring around, finding hidden loot and improving my character, while completing side quests and solving puzzles. But the graphics and sound are horrible, the combat system is unbelievably clunky, and the balancing is so broken that it just robs you of any enjoyment you could have with this game. There is a lot of content to dig into if you can suffer through it, but is it really worth it? No. Not at all, at least not as far as the PS2 version is concerned. The PS1 version is actually much better, both in its presentation and gameplay. It's not a revolutionary title by any means, but still a hell of a lot better than this. So if you're absolutely dying to experience Warriors of Might and Magic, play the PS1 version and throw the PS2 one into the deepest bowels of hell. But I will give the game one positive: it introduced me to Sepultura. Other than that, it stinks and I don't like it very much. And that's all I had to say about that. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, comment your thoughts below and subscribe for more stuff. You know how it goes. You can also support me on Patreon or become a channel member for early access to my videos and other perks. Have a great day, and until next time, take care and have fun.